Welcome everyone to round 6 of the Pony Express Sim Racing Endurance for Amateur Series. We are live from Interlagos today as we get started underway with some qualifying. I am your host, JR Kopp. In the booth alone tonight, so you'll have to bear with me as you're going to have to listen to me all night long. Byron is unable to make it tonight, but you never know, we might have some visitors pop in the booth from time and time again. But we're going to get started with qualifying here as we see Mr. Paul Boyle, who is in the Ford tonight, having some issues on his outlap there. So we'll see how Aaron Alford gets underway. So before we get started, we do have a very, very close points race in the GTE series. 7 points separate the top 5, with Terry Krauger leading Patrick Ripley. 3rd place is Tyler Langenbrenner. 4th place is David Lehman, and 5th place is Paul Skip. Again, the top 5 separated by only 7 points. Over in GT3, Nicholas Paletti is leading Aaron Clayball by 10 points, followed by Sean Crowley, Roger Shank, and Andrew Malinowski. Now, the GT3 class, they have positions 5 through 9 are separated by only 5 points. So these guys are really putting together a good season. Lots of close battles out here tonight, as we're going to wait for these guys to get done with their first qualifying laps. Now, weather here today is going to be a factor. Air temperature is 74 degrees, but the track temperature is 113 and rising, so it is going to start to get greasy. It's going to be slick. We're going to see a lot of guys having a lot of issues. So stay tuned for a lot of that fun. We'll follow right along here with Mr. James Foreman as he comes in to set his first lap. And Alex Kornfeld setting a purple sector. Or Paul Skip setting a purple sector along with Alex Kornfield. Let's see if we can jump over with Mr. Paul Skip in his usual Porsche there. Paul running the black and yellow Porsche Pony Express livery this evening. Nice looking car. We'll see how Paul gets around here on this really tight and twisty circuit. But then it's got a lot of open with some high speed left-handers. So this should be an exciting race. Lots of passing. We also have a special one-off, one-time this year only. Mr. Dennis Diaz has joined the race. As many of you may or may not know, Dennis is our 3-time defending series champion. Therefore, he is no longer allowed to race in this series as a competition rule. But for tonight's event only, he is in the race, and he has already set a blistering qualifying time. Almost a full half a second ahead of one Mr. Paul Skip. And newcomer Jimmy Covert, who has been quick lately, sets a 1:33 first qualifying lap. Almost a full second ahead of the field. So great by Jimmy Covert. See if we can find him and join him for his second lap as Jimmy drives that Ferrari around. For those of you that don't know, Jimmy has a nice setup. You can check that out on the website. A lot of these guys have been submitting pictures of their rigs, and boy, there's some beautiful rigs and setups out there. Looks like Paul Boyle jumps up to the lead in GTE, driving that beautiful Gulf retro throwback Ford GT. And Terry Krauger jumps up there into 2nd place. Looks like we're having a tight qualifying battle in GTE this evening. Jimmy Covert is able to hold on to that pole so far over Andrew McMurray and Kyle Smith. Carl Handwerk and Zachary Nurberger having a good qualifying run up in 6th. As these guys finish their first of 2 laps here this evening. We will get underway for a 110-minute. I believe they're going to end up with 2 pit stops tonight. The GTE guys might try to stretch that into 1 pit stop and see if we have any pit strategies going on. I know in the past, David Lehman has been a monster on saving fuel. And there we have Paul Boyle, who does not improve on his first lap. Andrew McMurray sets a couple fast sectors to, 0.3 of a second off Jimmy Colbert. And Kyle Smith jumps up to third place in GT3. See if we have anybody left on track. Looks like everybody's just about got their qualifying times in. We still have 4 minutes left of qualifying, but it looks like everybody has set their time so far. We're still waiting for the final results to come in. And we have a few cars left on track. Let's see if we can jump in, find out who that is. And then we'll start to get our qualifying final times as they post. Here, so again, like I said, we are at Interlagos for 110 minutes of high-speed racing here on the Pony Express Sim Racing YouTube channel. Again, I am your host, JR Kopp. I apologize. You are stuck with me all evening. So we're looking at right around 70, 72 laps this evening. Be interesting to see how that plays out as the track's going to get hotter. It's going to get a lot slicker. These guys are going to try to stretch these tires as long as they can. And we saw in Hungaroring 2 weeks ago that tires were, it was quite brutal, to be honest with you. They didn't do anybody any favors, that was for sure. So it looks like Patrick Ripley is still on track, but he is not showing up on. There's Mr. Patrick Ripley driving that beautiful Ford GT. Patrick had a great race last week, took the podium finish. Now I have to say that Ford does look really nice during the daytime, but boy, it looks really sharp under the night lights of Le Mans. So here we are, 2 minutes left in qualifying. Looks like just about everyone is off track. Looks like we are going to have 34 drivers have taken some qualifying time here tonight. Well, 34 drivers have taken a qualifying. It looks like we should have 37 drivers tonight, so a full field of drivers here at round 6. Now, stay tuned as next week. Where are they next week? Let's see if we can pull that up real fast. Next week, the guys are in Red Bull Ring for a morning race at Red Bull Ring. So that will be next Wednesday night, same time, same place. I believe I will be on the microphone again. We'll see how things go. And as soon as qualifying final results come in, we'll get that underway and get these guys gridded up for what should be a wild ride here down south of the border at this beautiful Interlagos track. Now, I have never driven this track. So I am really unfamiliar with exactly. So this 2.67 15-turn track looks like it's a current F1 track, so it does have some pretty cool. I know it's got a great inside right around turn 10. It kind of goes right through the middle of the stadium. So on both sides of the track, you have fans, and it's a slow speed corner, so the drivers spend a lot of time within that part of the track, and it really looks pretty cool on TV. So let's see what we got here in GTE tonight. Looks like Paul Boyle on the pole, followed by Dennis Diaz, Terry Kroger Jr., Ronnie Osmer, Patrick Ripley, Tyler Langenbrenner, Paul Skip, and Aaron Fulford will be in row 4. Row 5 will be David Lehman and Daniel Higley. Ryan Tyler, Doug Argbright, Carlos Ramos, Keith Roycroft, Atticus Middleton, Nick Terrell, and Brad McCombs are going to be your 17 drivers tonight in GT3. Over in GTE, we got quite a few more guys. Well, let's get the top guy. Jimmy Covert takes the pole. Alongside him will be Aaron McMurray, Kyle Smith, Alex Kornfeld will be row 2, Chris Lawson, Aaron Clayball, row 3, Ryan Glover, Carl Handwerk in row 4. Row 5 will be Zach Nurberger, James Foreman, followed by Sean Crowley, Nicholas Paletti, Mark Thomas, Roger Shank, Nam Mai Lee, Marcus Osborne in 16th, followed by Nick Brown, Dave Ferrara, Dan Coleman, Aiden Svoboda, and Mark Dillon, but I don't believe Mark is racing. I believe he is just out there to give the driver's speech, and then he'll probably do the first lap to make sure nobody does anything crazy. So that is where we're going to grid up here tonight. Again, it is hot. It is slick. Track temperatures are going to continue to rise. As you see, well, we're holding steady at 109, so not too bad. I imagine once these guys get rolling, it is 2 o'clock local time. So maybe they're lucky they got through the heat of the day and the track will start to cool off a little bit. That would really help these guys out quite a bit as we wait for driver brief to finish, and then we're going to get set to go underway, and we're going to jump and watch Mr. Paul Boyle as he takes these guys around on their formation lap. So again, we have Paul Boyle and Dennis Diaz. Now, Dennis is racing tonight. None of his points count. So he is just doing this as a one-off. I know he was itching to get out here and race with these guys. I know Terry Kroger Jr. is been improving by leaps and bounds, and he is excited to get up there and battle with Dennis. Newcomer Ronnie Osmer is start right behind Dennis, so hopefully Dennis doesn't get in the way of these guys fighting for a points battle. Ronnie is in 10th place currently, but he is only 29 points out of first place, so these guys are relatively close. Now, Dennis is a pretty experienced driver. I don't see any issues with Dennis getting in anybody's way, and worst case, Dennis, I'm sure, will get out of the way. So I will also try to stay up on the chat. It is going to be a little bit difficult, but appreciate everybody here who is watching and following along. Once again, you can check us out at ponyexpressracing.com. We also have a podcast hosted by myself and Tyler Burgett at pesimracingpodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you can find your favorite podcast. So as they get ready to come to the green flag here, and we're underway as Paul Boyle is going to take us down into the first corner. Hopefully everybody gets in nice and clear. Now, we do have a no passing rule. Not sure where that ends tonight, but it looks like we've got a lot of issues in the back already. Let's see if we can get back here. Oh, it looks like everybody's clear. Sometimes green flag, everybody is off and running. Let's see where we got Paul Boyle is still. Oh, and Paul runs it all wide. He gets it wrong on cold tires coming in, and that's going to open the door for Dennis Diaz. Not the guy you wanted to give the lead to here. Paul Boyle's going to have a lot of work to do now, as Ronnie Osmer's made up a couple positions, or made up a position already over Terry Kroger Jr., so Ronnie is off to a quick start. Let's get back there to Jimmy Covert. He is still managing to hold the lead. Oh, as we have issues going on all over the place. Looks like Terry Kroger Jr. may have had an issue. Let's see what happens to Terry here as he... Oh, yeah, he just gets in there a little bit too hot. And, oh, an accordion, and he takes out a lot of the front runners in your GTE field. Oh, and he's got GT3 guys in the mix. We have pandemonium already, lap 1. We have a lot of fast drivers are going to be headed to pit lane for a lot of repairs. Luckily, our GT3 leaders were able to get through that. Oh, no. Oh, looks like Alex Cornfield was able to use that to his advantage and get ahead of Jimmy Covert. Wonder if Jimmy has some damage. Looks like they're all going to stay out. Nobody's entered pit road just yet. Over here in GTE, looks like Dennis has pulled out to a 1.5 second lead already over Paul Boyle. Looks like we have an incident with Chris Lawson. Let's see what happens to Chris. Oh, he just... Oh, nothing he could do there. Two guys trying to fight for the same piece of real estate. These guys are going to keep going. Looks like Chris Lawson may have had another incident. Oh, these guys just coming down that front straight into that downhill left-hander. Or excuse me, yeah, downhill left-hander. Just can't see anybody coming around that corner. Now these guys are trying to get squared away, get back out on the track. Meanwhile, up front, GTE, Dennis is out to a healthy lead. Followed by Paul Boyle and Ronnie Osmer. Kind of all hold steady there, separated themselves quite a bit from Tyler Langenberg, who is a full 3.5 seconds back already, but Alex Cornfield, Jimmy Covert, and Andrew McMurray are pretty much nose to tail here at the start of round 6. 3 minutes in, and we have had all kinds of incidents and a lot of shakeups, which has separated the field quite a bit. Now, it looks like Kyle Smith. Yeah, this battle here between Andrew McMurray, Kyle Smith, and Carl Handwerk is the battle to be seen tonight as they come across to complete lap 3, getting started on lap 4. See, these guys are running really similar lap times. So it looks like Terry Kroger Jr. is in the pits. Oh, hopefully Terry can use that fast repair and get out and make up some ground. Unfortunately, there's not... He's probably still too early to really be in his pit window. Oh, let's see if we can see what happens to Nan Mai Lee. Has an incident coming into that. Just gets it a little bit wide. Oh, catches a rumble strip and... Oh, hard into the Armco barrier. And that is going to put a serious hurting on that beautiful Ferrari Red Bull livery. And he's going to try to nurse that all the way back around for an entire lap. And as you can see, it's missing some front end pieces. It's going to be a long lap for Nam. Hopefully he doesn't take it. Kyle Smith is off track. Let's see if we can see what happened to Kyle Smith as he starts to fall back through the field. Jump over here. Kyle, oh, just gets in a little bit too hot and just loses the back end. Doesn't look like he tagged anybody else. Hopefully Kyle's able to get back in and get back up to speed without, as you can see there, as he's waiting, he doesn't want to pull out and have an unsafe entry. So he's being very respectful. Sometimes you just have to let those guys go by. Now he's going to slowly work his way back on. Nice racing by Kyle. All right. Now, Dennis has managed to pull out to a 2-second gap over Paul Boyle. Looks like Ronnie Osmer's had an issue. Looks like we have an issue here with Daniel Higley's. He just locks up the rear end. Hopefully, oh, and everybody's able to get around him. Oh, wait, that's not Daniel. Oh, you can see him. He's sawing on the wheel inside that BMW. Nice save there by Daniel. All right, looks like everybody is back out on track. And let's see here. Alex Cornfield and Jimmy Covert are running nose to tail. Jimmy trying to get that position back that he lost earlier in the race to Alex. Looks like we have an incident with Marcus Osborne. Oh no, Marcus Osborne. Oh, he just loses it. Does he get collected? Oh, and he does get collected by Nick. Oh, I believe that's Nick Brown. Oh, Marcus, not how he wanted to have this race go. Hopefully he's able to get in the pits, get that quick repair, and get back out without losing a lap or too much time. And he may have run enough laps to where he can short pit. He's going to have to kind of stretch fuel out at this point. It's a shame for Marcus. He was hoping to have another good run. He's been on a real good run lately, having some really good lap times, had a couple podium finishes. Hopefully that doesn't affect him too badly. Looks like Carl Handwerk and Andrew McMurray are having quite a battle between these two gentlemen up here, battling for third place. I know it's a little early to say the last place on the podium, but see how these guys battle on. In fact, if Bryce is watching, we are going to go inside with Mr. Carl Handwerk with the gyro cam, so you get a good view of the car from, well, a little bit of Carl's standpoint. Let's see here. Well, Carl using all of the rumble strips there, as he is pulled away a little bit from Andrew McMurray behind him. Nice run as he cuts right on the inside as to go past the entrance to pit lane. And I think we're going to see Marcus Osborne's going to be showing up here in his windscreen here, as Marcus has just left the pit road. So now you can see pit road entrance is all the way down here, so you can see a lot of time on pit road for these guys. So that's the exit to pit road there. See who else we got. Ronnie Osmer and Patrick Ripley. Look like these guys are, oh, we are in a four-way battle. Ronnie Osmer, Patrick Ripley, Ryan Tyler, and David Lehman battling for fourth place. As Ronnie is leading that group. In the Corvette for the 55R with flames, Ronnie is a flame guy all the way. He's had those since he was a kid. Looks like we have an incident with Aiden Svoboda. See what happens to Aiden. Or maybe it was just a glitch. See, Aiden comes down the front straight and just gets in there a little bit too hot. And luckily there's a nice runoff there, and Aiden's able to get back on with no harm, no foul. Not exactly the shortest way around the track, but he'll take it. So Ronnie Osmer followed by Patrick Ripley, Ryan Tyler, David Lehman, and Paul Skip a little bit further back from those guys. But that is the battle, your battle here in GTE for fourth place, as these guys look to try to claw back some of that time on Tyler Langenberg, who is a full 4 seconds behind Paul Boyle, who is a further 4 seconds behind your leader, Dennis Diaz. So we go down here. It looks like we got a battle with Dan Coleman and James Foreman. These guys are, oh, all kinds of cars here. There's Nam. He is still trying to nurse that injured car around the track. These guys are starting to get in the middle of a mess. Dan Coleman, Nicholas Paletti, Kyle Smith, and Atticus Middleton right in the middle there in the GTE car. Just trying to stay out of the way of these gentlemen as they are in a battle amongst themselves. Oh, it looks like Kyle gets in a little bit hot. Kyle tapping the rear end there of Mr. Coleman, but nothing too drastic. Atticus has gone out of the way of that group. These guys finally got themselves sorted out a little bit. Looks like Nam managed to get that car up and running and seems to be holding his own fairly well for a car that is pretty well beat up. Now, he is 2 seconds off the pace, so at some point in time here, these guys are going to want to get by him and get back up to battling for position. As we get up here, and looks like Jimmy Covert has closed right up onto the back of Alex Cornfield. And these guys battle for your lead in GT3 tonight. 11 minutes in, 8 laps down. As these guys continue to battle. Looks like Carl Handwerk is closed right up on the back too, and I wonder if he's brought... Oh, Andrew McMurray's just fallen back just a little bit yet. Might be trying to conserve tires. Carl looks like he is pushing for all he's worth. He was right on the same pace as your leaders. So he is managed to close that gap. Now, here we have Tyler Langenberg. And these guys have managed to hold their own here. Ronnie Osmer, Patrick Ripley. They've dropped Ryan Tyler off just a little bit. David Lehman right behind them. And then Mr. Paul Skip has managed to close up to these guys. As they are battling a little bit. Lon Paul. Looks like David Lehman is going to try to jump on the inside. Nope, cannot make that pass on the inside going into turn 1 on Ryan Tyler. Ryan a little bit harder on the brakes than Mr. Paul Skip. The David Lehman. As you see, Patrick Ripley and Ronnie Osmer have got a nice little separation between themselves. You don't have to worry about that guy dive bombing you from the back. Let's go check on our leaders here in GT3. And Alex still ahead of Jimmy. And Carl is right on the back now. Jimmy's got to be looking in his rearview mirror now that he sees Carl has managed to close all that gap. Now, these two are teammates, as you could tell. So I wonder if there is any team orders in there from Carl saying, hey, Jimmy, let me go by. I have a little bit faster pace than you. And he does. Not much, but just a little bit. We'll see if maybe Carl can get by Jimmy and then see what he can do with Alex. Meanwhile, a little bit farther down the field, Andrew McMurray back there in 4th place. Ryan Glover and Aaron Clayball locked in a battle for 5th place. 2 Porsches running against each other. Excuse me, Aaron is in the... He's not in the Porsche. I apologize. Or yes, he is. Zach Nurberger behind them is the first in the Ferrari. Followed by another Ferrari of Sean Crowley. And a little bit further back by Roger Shank. And here we see Terry Kroger coming up, trying to make his way through the field. Managed to get in and get out. It's going to be a big dent to Terry's championship fight here this evening. So I just got some clarification that Dennis is out there. He is running, but he is AKA a ghost driver for the evening. I think he's just here to show off to the boys as he has managed to pull a 6-second lead already on, I guess, what is technically first place. Oh, do we have another incident with Marcus Osborne? Marcus has an off-track incident. Let's see what happens with Marcus. She just gets in there just a little bit offline, catches the grass. Not too bad, though. He's able to save it. Marcus pushing, trying to get back some of those spots. Oh, it looks like Carl has managed to get past Jimmy and is right on the back of Alex Cornfield. I wonder see what Carl has for Alex tonight. As you know, Carl's Season 2 champion in GT3, so he is fast, not afraid of running up front. As they combine to complete lap 11, get started on lap 12, and Carl's going to pull out. Now, Jimmy has that inside line, or Alex, excuse me, has that inside line, and it looks like Carl's going to try to drive him around the outside, which puts him on the inside for this corner. Oh, nice driving by Alex and Carl as they battle all the way through that first set of S's. See what Carl has going down this short back chute here. Not going to be close enough to dive on the inside of Alex this time around. Looks like he's going to sit back there and regroup and regather himself. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like Ryan Glover and Aaron Claybar are still locked in a little battle here of the Porsches. Just kind of following each other around, running almost identical lap times. Then you have the Lamborghini battle here between Zach and Sean. Zach having a good race here. It's nice to see him. I know he struggled slightly last week in Le Mans. In fact, he didn't make it one lap. And that's kind of why you found him or heard him here in the booth with me. It was nice to have him in the booth. I agree completely there, Barry. Let's go, Carl. Nice to see Carl back up there in front. Hopefully he runs out of issues. Well, Rhonda, let's just see where... There's Mr. Shank, as he is found himself in 9th place. He's got a nice healthy gap over Mark Thomas behind him in 10th place. All right. These guys battle. Looks like that's Marcus. That looks like Mr. Osborne behind him, but Marcus is a lap down of these guys. But once they cycle to the pit stops, hopefully he'll at least get his lap back. Unfortunately, there's no lucky dog here in Endurance for Amateurs, so he's going to have to earn that back all the way. It looks like we had, Atticus Middleton. Nope, Atticus is jumping to the pits. See here, we have an incident with Kyle Smith. See what happens with Kyle. Kyle just facing the wrong way. They're not where he wanted to be. Kyle having a rough start to tonight's race. Couple off tracks and a couple incidents already for Kyle. Let's see. Don't have incidents, but let's see how many of these guys have already. For Kyle, he's already got 8 off-track points tonight, so he is having some struggles. Oh, what do we have here? Aiden Svoboda, Alex Cornfield. Looks like Carl gets by. Oh, and Alex, I don't know if there was contact. It was hard to tell if there was contact there, but Alex gets spun around. And he's going to lose positions all the way back. Well, that shakes up the top there as we have Carl Hanwick and Andrew McMurray now in 2nd place. Jimmy Covert's fallen back to 3rd. Andrew McMurray took full advantage of the incidents that took place there a minute ago. Now, I'm not sure, but I think Dennis looks like he pitted. So Dennis has got in the pits, so he has done his pit stop for the first pit stop here on lap 12, 20 minutes in. Interesting strategy for Dennis. Must have calculated his fuel and he knows exactly what he needs, and that puts Mr. Paul Boyle out in the lead for now, followed by Tyler Langenberg. So Paul's got a nice 6-second lead over them. A little bit further back is Ronnie Osmer, who has slowly been eating into that Tyler Langenberg lead. At one point, he was 5 seconds back. He's now only a minute and a half. It looks like we have an incident with Paul Skip. Let's see what happened to Paul. Paul coming in right in front of Dennis. Just loses it on the rumble strips. Hopefully he's able to keep it out of the Armco barrier, and he does. Now, we also had an incident with Aiden Svoboda. Let's see what happens to Aiden. Again, these guys coming down that long front straight, coming into that downhill off camber. And he just gets in there too hot yet again. Aiden seems to be having a title. Now we have Ryan Tyler with an incident. See, we can see what happens to Mr. Ryan Tyler, as he is on the inside of Kyle Smith. Kyle just taps him just a little bit. Hopefully he's able... Oh, and Dennis... oh, Dennis is just getting lucky getting through all this traffic at the right time. Well, that's going to put a shakeup into this battle here. As Paul Boyle is still out front in GTE, and Carl Hanwick is leading in the GT3 field. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to take a quick break. So we are going to put this to exciting, which means you're going to get to watch whatever iRacing deems as an exciting race, and I shall be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Round 6 at Interlagos Endurance for Amateurs, presented by Pony Express here on the Pony Express Sim Racing, I want to say network. I'm just going to call it the Pony Express Sim Racing Network. I am your one and only host and commentator tonight, Mr. JR Kopp, as we are live from Interlagos down here south of the border. Let's check to see what we're running. So we are in luck. These guys are probably loving this. Track temperature is slowly coming down as we get further and further into the afternoon. Was kind of worried it was going to be a hot, wet, or a hot, slippery race tonight, but it looks like these guys are in luck. So let's get a rundown of what we got going on. Looks like we got Mr. Paul Boyle is out in front in GTE. Paul Boyle leading Tyler Langenberg, followed closely by Ronnie Osmer, who has been running him down steady for about the last 4 laps. Fourth place, we have the ghost car of Mr. Dennis Diaz, the Meme Mobile. Now, Dennis is doing a one-off, aka celebrity race As many know, Dennis is a former champion, so he is just out here racing with these guys tonight. His points do not count. In fact, and we have a Mr. Patrick Ripley has had an incident right behind Dennis, trying to keep up with Dennis to see if we can see what happens with Mr. Ripley. It looks like he just, I'm not sure, I think he just got in a little bit hot and just lost the rear end. Round he goes. Is he able to keep it off? Okay, so Patrick's able to keep it off. Hopefully he doesn't pull out and get sideswiped as he pulls out in front of Ryan Tyler. So good job, Mr. Patrick Ripley. He pulls over, lets those guys go by as he tries to get the marbles off the tires. Meanwhile, down in GT3, Carl Handwerk. Nice to see Carl up in front. Followed by Andrew McMurray in, I want to say, the Autism Speak car. I'm not sure if that's an Autism Speaks car or not, but it definitely has some colorness to it. Followed by Jimmy Covert. Now, you'll notice that Carl and Jimmy's cars look awfully similar. Those two are teammates. They had a nice little battle earlier. And between them, we have Mr. Brad McCombs. Nice to see Brad out there. He's had some issues this afternoon already, and he is down in 15th place. Not where he wanted to be, I'm sure. Racing for System X. So meanwhile, over here in GT3, got Aaron Glover running in 5th place, followed closely behind Sean Crowley, Aaron Clayball, Zach Nurburg, and Carl Schenk trying to catch up. But these guys, let's see where we at here. So Ryan Glover, Sean Crowley, Aaron Clayball, and Zach Nurburger nose to tail. All 4 of these guys are battling it out. In fact, is that all 5? These that is Alex Cornfield. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place are all within a couple car lengths of each other. What a great battle we have here. See how these guys get down into turn 1. Again, turn 1 is a lot of issues with it tonight. A lot of guys having issues coming in there. That off camber, slightly downhill after you get that big long run down the front straight. Catching a lot of guys off. Looks like Roger Shanks had an incident. See what happened to Roger coming into again. Oh, looks like Roger cut down and Marcus was right there. Oh, and then, wow. Mr. Osborne, if you didn't have bad luck, I don't think you'd have any tonight, sir. See that from Marcus's point of view here. Well, let's see if we can take one more look at that. On board with Marcus. Let's see what happens here. He's coming down the inside and, oh, looks like Roger. I don't know if Roger didn't see him. Oh, and then they get caught up one more time. Not how either one of those two gentlemen wanted to have tonight go. Looks like we have an incident with Ryan Tyler. All by himself. What happened to Ryan? Oh, Ryan just gets it. Yep, just comes in there, locks up the rears just a little bit. Luckily, he's able to keep it going and not lose any positions. Nice driving by Mr. Tyler, as he keeps him in 6th place in GTE. Meanwhile, Carl has absolutely stretched it out. We start to see some of these guys in the pits, coming out of the pits. Carlos stretched out a sizable lead. But it looks like this battle between Ryan Glover, Alex Cornfield, Sean Crowley, Aaron Clayball's gotten into the mix now, and Zach Nurburg are all in there. All kind of just nose to tail, following each other around, trying to see who makes a mistake. Now, we still do have over an hour and 9 minutes left. So a lot of racing left for these guys. That's a lot more opportunities for them at turn 1 to unfortunately make a mistake. I hate to say that. Now most of you will notice too that we used to have a track map showing. Unfortunately, the track map tonight has said no, I quit. So I tried to reload it and it just wasn't having it tonight. So I apologize for those of you that are unfamiliar with this track. It was there a while ago and it has since left us, so I apologize. We'll work on that next week. Promise. Oh, wait, looks like, see, and as we speak, the Trap Mac is back. I guess you just have to speak to SDK and it will work for you. So here we are again with Carl Handwerk, our leader in the GT3 field. Now, Carl also is our biggest mover of the night. He is up 8 positions in class, but he is up 11 positions overall. So great night for Carl. And over in GTE, looks like we have a tie between Tyler, David Lehman, Daniel Higley, and Ryan Tyler are all up 4 positions. Looks like Dave Ferrara back here having a great race, up 10 spots. Nice to see Dave. Dave, one of the most courteous, polite drivers you'll probably ever race against. He's out here. He is honing his craft. Dave will let you know if you're coming up faster. He'll get out of your way. It looks like we have an incident with Patrick Ripley. See what happens to Mr. Ripley. Again, these guys coming into that first corner. He's in there a little bit hot, just loses the back end once again. Now the question is, can he get out of everybody's way? That's a dangerous spot to have an off, and he is able to get up and get back underway. So Patrick survives and gets lucky there. So we go back to Dave Ferrara and Nicholas Pletty having their own battle back here in 11th position. Nice to see Dave out there trying to catch up to these guys, maybe get himself a top 10 finish tonight. I know Nicholas Pletty was hoping to have a much better finish. See what happens going into if he can get... No, Dave's able to hold that off. That liquid molly for Ferrari. Dave Ferrara holding steady. Let's see, Nam still running around missing a hood and part of his front end, but I mean, he is definitely off pace. But he is running consistent lap times, not losing a lap to his own class, which is always good. Hoping to get around where he can get in and get pit and use that faster pair. And here we see David Coleman just turning his fastest lap of the afternoon. David driving that nice Porsche. A little bit further back, we have Nick Brown and Chris Lawson and Aiden Savoboda, who's had his few incidents tonight. Turn 1 seems to be Aiden's big hiccup tonight. Looks like he's finally got that corner figured out. Meanwhile, back up here with Carl Handwerk, who's managed to jump out to a 6-second lead now over Andrew McMurray. But again, this battle here, as you see them merging on pit row between Sean Crowley, Aaron Clayball, managed to separate themselves a little bit. Farther back, Zach and Roger Shank in the AlienAwards.net mobile, and he is getting ready to get caught by Mr. Diaz, who, despite having pitted already on lap 12, I'm not sure if he had an issue or if he just wanted to get out of these guys' way, but he is running some pretty quick lap times. Looks like our leaders are running some 131s, high 131s, low 132 lap times in the GTE field. And in the GT3 field, Carl running the only one that... they've got a few guys in the high 133s, low 134s. A lot of the field in the 135s. Looks like we're starting to see more and more guys cycling into the pits. And I'm going to guess probably somewhere here in the next 5 or 6 laps, we'll start to see some of the leaders starting to pit. As we will keep an eye on Mr. Paul Boyle. These guys are kind of getting themselves spread apart. Looks like Tyler, oh, not these gentlemen. We have Dennis, Tyler, Ronnie, and I believe David Lehman. It's just a few seconds back of these guys, but these guys are in a battle for 3rd position. As looks like Ronnie is pulling out and going to make that pass on Tyler. Tyler trying to cut back and is unable to do so. Dave Lehman trying not to let these guys get away. Now, let's see what Ronnie finally caught Tyler. That took him probably 9 laps or so, maybe 10 laps. But he was able to, what was a 5-second gap. Now we'll be curious to see if Ronnie has anything for our defending champion, Mr. Diaz. Last lap, these two were about identical. Unfortunately, they were about 2 seconds slow, Paul Boyle, but they were fighting with a lot of traffic. Let's see what we have here. Daniel Higley has had an incident. Hopefully it's all by himself and he's able to get going. Just coming in. Looks like he got in a little bit too hot. Yep, locked that back end up. Hopefully he's able to get it righted. You see, there it goes. Oh, it just cuts across the nose there of Mr. Paul Skip. But he's able to avoid any contact. That's good for him. Meanwhile, let's see here what Mr. Osmer, Mr. Diaz. You know, keep in mind, Dennis has actually pitted once already. So that's how much faster he's been. Dennis turns a 130.7. So he is a full second ahead of Ronnie. And a full second ahead of Paul Boyle in front of him. So Dennis is back on the attack. Meanwhile, Ronnie and Tyler was trying to just hold on to the back. Ronnie's got some good pace here tonight. Curious to see what he has in store, if he can make his way back to Paul Boyle. He's got almost 9 seconds to get to Mr. Paul Boyle. Looks like we have an incident with Carlos. Let's see what happens to Mr. Ramos. Just got Dave Ferrara around him. Looks like he just gets a little bit loose on the inside there. Spins around. No harm on that one. Back live, let's see here what we got. Looks like Alex Cornfield diving into the pits. Now, it'd be interesting. Let's see if any of these take tires. It doesn't look like it. And no, there's Dennis again coming into the pits. Looks like our Paul Boyle's had an incident. What happened to Paul Boyle, our leader in GTE? Oh, yep, looks like he just lost it in turn 1, and that's allowed Ronnie Osmer to get by. So Ronnie has managed to get by and into the lead. Meanwhile, we've got all kinds of people going on. We've got pit lane action. Things are starting to get interesting here at Interlagos. Now Paul Boyle has a lot of work to do, make up for a lot of lost time, as you see Ronnie coming up onto the back of Zach here. Now these guys are different class racing, so Ronnie and Zach are not fighting each other for position. You see, looks like Carl's going to go another lap. Carl was able at Le Mans to do almost 2 laps longer than anybody else. So I'm not sure if this is regular pit strategy for the GTE guys or if they're short pitting, but Carl definitely is not pitting. Now we have Andrew McMurray's in the pits. Oh, Andrew looks like he went through his pit stall just a little bit. That's going to cost him some time. Jimmy Covert in the pits. We got there we go. We got Ronnie Osmer pulling into the pits. Paul Boyle pulling in pits. Now, be interesting to see where these guys cycle out. As Paul Skip is pulled into the pit lane. And Aaron, no, looks like Aaron Fulford, he is going to keep on rolling. So Aaron is going to do one more lap, and these guys will be interesting to see if he has the fuel to do that. Meanwhile, Carl is still out on track. Now it shows he is a full 43 seconds ahead of Zach. Now these two have not pitted. So once pit stops all cycle through. See Ronnie Osmer back on track. Aaron Clayball back. Paul Boyle's left the pits. Looks like all these guys are fuel only, fuel only. Dennis has had his second pit stop this evening. And looks like Carl is diving into pit lane. So our leader in GT3 is going to dive into pit lane. And it'll be interesting to see where he cycles out at. Now here's Alex Cornfield. Now, Zachary has not pit. He is the only one of this group that has not made his pit stop yet. So that's obviously going to cycle him well behind these guys once pit stops are complete. So until then, we are just going to jump around here and see what else is going on. Appreciate everybody that's listening and watching tonight's broadcast. Appreciate it even more if you actually have the sound on. Hopefully this is entertaining and you're at least getting to see some good racing action. Trying to stay up on everybody. As we see Aaron Fulford is finally into the pits for his pit stop. And it looks like that is going to cycle Tyler Langenberg out front. Now, interesting here. Tyler's pit stop was only 11.5 seconds. I'm not sure if he only half fueled. Now, if these guys are going to have to do a splash and dash, he may have done his splash and dash right here, which would allow him to get out, get some fresh air, get out of the mess. So it'll be interesting to see where Tyler cycles through at. Like I said, his pit stop was 11.5 seconds, and everybody else's was 22, 23 seconds. Little gamesmanship here by Tyler. We'll see how that works out. Now he is being hunted down by one Mr. Diaz, who is been on a tear. Looks like we have an incident with Nick Brown. As these guys are all coming down the front stretch, looks like we could have 3 people involved in this incident. As he just gets it wrong. Oh, it looks like, not sure who that looks like. Nick may have tapped. Yep, Nick tapped the back of Keith Roycroft. Fortunate incident for Keith, no fault of his own. Keith in that nice new blue and lime green Pony Express livery tonight. Nice to see Keith rocking that. Looks beautiful. Well, let's see where we shuffle through here. We have Andrew McMurray is back up front. Looks like Atticus Middleton's had an issue. See what happens to Atticus here. Just gets in a little bit hot. Off track he goes, and oh, he's able to keep it. Oh, just barely keeps it off the wall though. Now hopefully he does not. All right, there we go. All right, nice job from Mr. Middleton. Meanwhile, back up front here, Andrew McMurray has managed to pull ahead. I'm not sure what happened to Carl. Now, did Carl... Oh, Carl took tires. That explains it. So Carl and Jimmy Covert, teammates, took tires. Which is an interesting strategy. Everybody else, though, looks like Roger Shank took tires. So that is the gentleman. So they took tires, which means they feel like at some point in time here tonight, you're going to have to take tires. We saw this at Hungaroring Everybody tried to push it. Everybody tried to push it, and you were 4 or 5 seconds a lap slower. I, for one, was at least that much slower and ended up having to pit because I got the black flag. All right, so meanwhile, Patrick Ripley and Paul Boyle are in a battle. So we got the two Fords are battling each other for 5th position here on track. Nice to see all these guys out running hard, clean. Fortunately for Mr. Ripley, had a few incidents earlier this race. Same with Mr. Paul Boyle, kind of put them behind the field a little bit. Tyler Langenberg still managing to hold a 5-second lead over Dennis Diaz, who stretched his lead over Ronnie Osborne by 5 seconds. So we have Aaron McMurray, he's got a 15-second lead over Alex Cornfield, who is just about 2 seconds ahead of Sean Crowley. Now Sean Crowley and Aaron Claybaugh, on the other hand, are in a nice little battle as we come up to what would be turn 14 and 15 coming onto this long straightaway. Now this is where we've seen a lot of issues tonight. These guys pushing a little bit harder and a little bit harder. They have all kinds of issues here in this hard braking left, followed by a quick downhill right. Both of those are kind of off camber, followed by another left. Long left-hander brings you off to this little back straight. In fact, let's oh, did we have an incident with Mr. Diaz? Or did... That is an unusual spot. Maybe he I said let's jump on board here with Mr. Andrew McMurray for a little bit and see what it looks like from his point of view as he is followed behind Mr. Diaz. See, he's all the way over there on the rumble strips. So this is the two left-handers before you get to the start-finish line. This is kind of a big, long straightaway. See, there's pit road. Quite a bit of elevation change going up into pit road. Now this is turn 1, this really hard braking. But Andrew tonight has no issues navigating through that. Get this long left-hander onto this short little back straight. You can see pit entrance there on your left. It comes into another hard braking zone for this 90-degree left-hander, followed by another tight left-hander. So you're picking up the throttle. He's going to come down here. We're going to enter into this little stadium section. Hard on the brakes for a double apex right-hander, followed by a blind entry here almost, and you're hard on the brakes here for this hairpin right-hander, followed by a hairpin left-hander. Now we're climbing back uphill into another hard braking hairpin to the right. Now we're going to go downhill, long sweeping left-hander. Trying everything you can to carry as much momentum as you can as you work your way uphill into this long straightaway. And there we have a lap. Mr. Andrew McMurray. So it looks like Carl has managed to close the gap on Alex Cornfield. He is just 1 second behind these guys. Now Aaron Claybaugh and Sean Crowley are still
within a half a second of each other. In fact, that last lap time they were 0.2 of a second. Aaron was 0.2 of a second faster, so these guys are running pretty consistent lap times, running right with each other. As we close in on 1 hour in to this race tonight, it looks like Mr. Atticus Middleton has had another incident. Hopefully it's just Atticus and nobody else. This is similar to where he had his incident last time. Yep, just locked up the front end going in there, and you could see. Now those Corvettes, they do not have ABS, and Atticus hopefully is able to get back on track. As we see here, Aaron and Sean having their own little battle. Meanwhile, Alex Cornfield has got a rear view mirror full of that red, black, and white car of Carl Handwerk. He is all over the back. No, Carl has been fast tonight. He has been on his game all night. We'll have to see how much pressure he puts on Andrew McMurray. Or excuse me, on Alex Cornfield. Nope, as he pulls up to the inside. And looks like Carl is going to make the pass. As he dives as close as he can to that wall, trying to cut off as much track as he can. Now Alex is hopefully going to... Alex is going to try to cut back underneath. See if these two can... Alright, nice clean pass there. A little gamesmanship as they're weaving back and forth. Alright, now Carl sets his sights on Andrew McMurray, who is 15 seconds ahead. Now keep in mind, Carl has taken tires. So Carl's on a fresh set of tires. He's got a lot more grip. And he lost 36 seconds in the pits to Andrew McMurray. And so he's 15 seconds behind here at the 54-minute mark. Let's see how Carl manages to use those tires to his advantage. Now, back up here, Tyler Langenberg might not want to look in his rearview mirror because he has been caught by our defending champion, Dennis Diaz, in the all too familiar meme mobile. That last lap, in fact, Dennis was a full second faster than Tyler. Interestingly enough, Dennis, who is going to be battling for lead, as we have Nick Brown has had an incident. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully it is nothing other than him leaving pit road. And oh no, he's actually had an incident on pit road. Unlike the Daytona 24, he is able to get that thing turned around and headed down pit lane the correct way. Meanwhile, Dennis is on the back. Oh, and Zach, I think that Zach Nuremberg has an incident. Nuremberg. See, it's not showing me that he's had an incident. And looks like Chris Lawson's had an incident here. Coming into that familiar turn one. See what happens to Chris. He just gets in there a little bit too hot, loses the rear end, and around he goes. Able to get back going without collecting any other drivers, so that's nice to see. And while we were gone, a familiar sight to the Pony Express League, Dennis Diaz has taken the lead from Tyler. It looks like Mr. Ronnie Osmer has unable to close the gap to Tyler. Yeah, in fact, he did manage to close a second there, but not enough. Make a difference. Oh, my SDK is trying to tell me something happened. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any issues going on, so. See, Carl has managed to shave off 2 seconds already over Andrew's lead. 2 seconds in, let's see, he is running exactly 1 second a lap faster. So that's going to put Carl on the back of Andrew here in about 10 more laps. Let's see what Mr. Nicholas Pletty has got himself into a little bit of a fight with Zach Nurnberg. And Ryan Glover down here in a battle for 7th position. Zach dives up the inside. Strong move by Zach. Can he make it stick? Nicholas Pletty. No, Nicholas is able to keep it pinned on the outside. I don't know if Zach just got in a little bit hot. Kind of looked like the move Zach did on me a couple weeks ago. Stuffed it up the inside. Meanwhile, Ryan Glover just in back there waiting for these guys to hopefully make space for him and capitalizing on 7th place. As we close in on the 1 hour mark. 41 minutes to go and another round of pit stops yet to come. Doug Agabright has had an incident. See what happened to Doug. You know, he just went off. About no incident for Doug. He was just pulling over, letting those guys get by without an incident. Nice driving by Doug. Doug running in the 13th position in class. Looks like we have another incident with Nick Brown. Let's see what happened to Nick. Climbing in. Oh, just catches the curbing. Now can he stay out everybody's way? He keeps a pin, gets off track, spins that thing around, watching his relative, making sure that there's nobody coming. And Nick able to get back on track, get up and running without collecting anybody else. Meanwhile, looks like Zach has managed to get in front of this group. So we have Zach managed to get past Nicholas Paletti. You saw him make a pass earlier. You see them going through that tight, I just call it the infield section because it kind of has almost a Daytona feel. A lot of sharp hairpin corners in there. Looks like Carl has pitted. So Carl in the pits. He's going to cycle out. And Zach, Nicholas, and Ryan Glover are all coming down the back straight. Let's see how this plays out. Doesn't look like any of them are really close enough to use any type of draft. Does anybody want to take a chance at outbreaking somebody going into turn 1? They all stay single file. Just hit the 1 hour mark, so we have 40 minutes left to go here at round 6 of the Endurance for Amateurs presented by Pony Express. AlienAwards.net is another great sponsor. 3HM Advertising as well. Check those guys out. Check out the website, ponyexpressracing.com. Pony Express Sim Racing Discord channel. We have everything you want. We have a bunch of different series. We have Endurance for Amateurs, Open Wheel for Amateurs, Pro 4 Trucks, and NASCAR for Amateurs on Friday night, which is where we will be next. That will be live on Extreme Sim TV. Check out Matt and AJ as they do that race Friday night. Not sure where the race comes from on Friday night, but I will look and let you know. Looks like we got some people hitting the pit lane. Jimmy Covert enters the pits. Brad McCombs, Aaron Fulford. These guys are starting to hit pit lane. Meanwhile, up here in GTE, Dennis Diaz out to an 8-second lead over Ronnie Osmer now. as Tyler has made a second pit stop. Terry Kroger Jr. has made a second pit stop, as they are back there fighting for that 10th place position, 9th and 10th place, trying to keep a nice top 10 finish for Terry Kroger. Followed by Mr. Brad McCombs, who's just pulling out of the pits in that red and black System X car. You see Aaron Fulford having some issues on pit lane. It is a long pit lane here, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, when we get our next round of pit stops here, we'll jump in with somebody and check it out. As you see Dennis making his way through a lot of traffic, making his way past Mr. Shank. Not wanting to get caught up with any of these lap drivers. Those guys pulled over, let him through nicely. Here we have Mr. Ronnie Osmer. Full 8.5 seconds back. Followed by David Lehman. Followed by the Ford family of Patrick Ripley and Paul Boyle. 12 seconds behind them, we have Mr. Paul Skip. In 7th place is Daniel Higley, followed by Ryan Tyler, trying to get around some lap traffic, get past the GT3 guys. They pull over and let him go by. He runs a little bit wide, but that BMW should have enough power to keep that on these gentlemen. Here we see Tyler has already made his second pit stop, as has Terry Kroger. Brad McCombs just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Aaron Fulford in 12th position. You see Aaron here coming into that tricky downhill left-hander. Doug Agabright in 13th position. Keith Roycroft in 14th, and Carlos Ramos rounds out your top 15 in GTE. In GT3 we get Andrew McMurray leading over Alex Cornfield. You can see him just getting onto the front straight, so Andrew's got almost a full lap. And here we have Aaron Clayball pulling in the pit stops. It'll be interesting to see on his second pit stop if he takes tires. So we're going to watch and see. Now we see, not sure who that is behind him, took tires. Looks like Alex is, what is that? Oh, Aaron Clayball in pit lane. So let's jump on real quick, and you can see very tight. You can't afford to get anything wrong coming off pit lane there. And Aaron's able to get back in and cycle in. So now we got pit stop cycling through. So be curious to see where everybody. So Andrew, Alex, our top three have yet to pit. The first of our two pitters is Carl, followed by Aaron Clayball, Jimmy Covert in 7th place. He has only made one pit stop as well. Now our leader, Mr. Diaz here, he has made 2 pit stops. All of our GTE field, all the GTE leaders have only made 1 pit stop thus far, except for Tyler. Now Tyler's kind of the wild card here. He has made his second pit stop on lap 39, so he is going to be close to making it on fuel. Hopefully he's able to make it on fuel the rest of the way. And we have 35 minutes left, so I'm going to take a quick break. Leave you guys with whatever iRacing deems as exciting, and I will be back to finish up the last half hour of Endurance for Amateurs, Round 6. welcome back everyone as we get set for the final push here tonight from Interlagos in the round 6 of the Endurance for Amateurs series. We see Mr. Andrew McMurray still holding steady. Now Andrew still has to make a pit stop, but he has a 19-second lead over Mr. Alex Cornfield. Running in 3rd place, Mr. Sean Crowley, followed by 4th place with Mr. Carl Handwerk. Now Carl is the first of our 2 pit stop people already, so it'll be interesting to see where they cycle through. Andrew McMurray, see if he's getting ready to pit anytime here soon. He should be getting close to pitting. Last pitted on lap 26, so he might have 4 more laps to go yet, but he is definitely going to have to pit one more time. Meanwhile, Zach and Ryan Glover, and you see Mr. Paul Boyle going by. But you have Zach and Ryan Glover in a battle for 7th position. Both of them are on the same pit strategy. Now Ryan Glover pitted 5 laps before Zach did. So it'll be interesting to see how this battle plays out as we watch them coming through that tight, twisty infield section. Brings them into this last tight right-hander, followed by a downhill left, and then you start making that climb back up the hill towards the start-finish line. Looks like we have an incident with Ryan Tyler. Let's see what happens to Ryan. It's coming down that back little short chute. Looks like my guess would be he's just going to get in there a little bit hot. Yep, you see that back end just lock up. Coming in there a little bit hot, got a little bit hard on the brakes. That back end locks up, and there's nothing you can do with it at that time. Now those GTE cars, they do not have ABS, so it is all about getting that brake pressure just right. We see the battle for 7th place here continue on. Everybody else on track at the moment's kind of spread themselves out a little bit. Interesting strategy we have here is, where does Carl slot back in after our next round of pit stops? As we mentioned earlier, Carl has taken tires, so he is the only one that took tires on the first round of pit stops. So theoretically he should have 26 lap fresher tires than these guys, which could very well be huge. Just lap times are slowly starting to creep into the 34s. In fact, let's see what Mr. Cornfield, so his last lap was half a second slower than his best lap, so not bad. So Alex is holding pretty steady. 2nd place, Sean, his last lap was almost a full second slower than his best lap, so lap times are coming down for those guys. Meanwhile, over here in GTE, David Lehman, who is still running on his first pit stop. Now we see Paul Boyle just pull into the pits. So Paul's pulling in the pits from 2nd place. David Lehman. So he is running very consistent lap times. 50 laps in, and tires are still holding strong as he's looking to get past. Not sure if that's Carl. Nope, that would be Carl's partner, which would be Jimmy Covert. So now we see where Mr. Paul Boyle, see him in his pit stop there, in his pit stall. No tires for Paul. He is just gonna splash of fuel and get back out on track. So we have David Lehman still running in the lead, followed 15 seconds further back by Paul Skip, who is being hunted by Mr. Diaz. 5 seconds back of that, we have Ronnie Osmer, who is just getting around Chris Lawson there. And I see those guys getting out of the way. Or that Mr. Dan Coleman. That would be Mr. Dan Coleman. Dan Coleman up 5 positions. He is back there a little bit, 17th place, but made up 3 positions in class. Not a bad night for Dan. Let's see, so now we have Carlos Ramos in the pits, Ryan Glover pitted. So now we're going to start to see the shakeup happen. Everybody's coming in for their last splash of fuel as we get closer and closer to 20 minutes remaining. So 17 more laps, 16 more laps for these guys to decide the winner here tonight. Now remember, we have Monday night. I will be back on the airwaves for the Open Wheel for Amateur Series, and those guys are in Red Bull Ring. No, that's these guys. We are in Monza next week for the Open Wheel for Amateur Series. And then you have Monday night. You are at Wild Horse for the Pro 4 Trucks. Endurance for Amateurs, we are going to go to Red Bull Ring. And let's see, this Friday, NASCAR is at Bristol. Well, that should be a wreck fest if I've ever seen it, but it should be good racing. So that's Friday night. Come on over to Extreme Sim TV to watch those guys. And then the following week, they are at Kentucky. So that's what we got for NASCAR for Amateurs next couple weeks. But back here at the AlienAwards.net, 3HM Entertainment sponsored Pony Express Endurance for Amateur Series, as we have David Lehman leading Paul Skip, followed by our top 3 of Dennis Diaz. In GT3, we have Alex Cornfield, Carl Handwerk, and your last podium finisher is Andrew McMurray. As we see some issues there with, believe that is, I'm not sure who that is. I've lost my mouse. So Alex Cornfield is still the only one. Oh, looks like Jimmy Covert. Looks like maybe him and Daniel Higley may have gotten together. Let's see, Daniel Higley just loses it, and I think Jimmy might have gotten, no place to go. Unfortunate incident. Jimmy was having a good run. Not what he wanted to see. It. Not much place you can hide when that happens, unfortunately. As we were saying, Alex Cornfield has yet to pitted on lap 25, so he is 28 laps into this stint. Well, 27 maybe for him. They are... Oh, no, they might not be a lap behind just yet, but curious to see here. Alex is going to have to pit. No, he only has 5 seconds over Carl. Well, Carl's already done his second pit on lap 37. So I'm not sure if Carl's going to have to do a splash and go. Let's see. We have an incident with Keith Roycroft. Is that a pit lane incident? Yep. Keith just went in for his fast repair and coming out of there trying to make something happen. All right, here we are back with Alex Cornfield. See if Alex dives into the pits this lane. It doesn't. Maybe. Yep. All right, so Alex Cornfield is in the pits, which is going to cycle Carl Handwerk to the lead. And once timing and scoring gets through everybody, it looks like Paul Skip is getting ready to come under some fire. Mr. Diaz. And 6 seconds behind him, we have Ronnie Osmer cruising around in a comfortable 4th position at the moment. He is about 6 seconds back of Dennis, but he is well ahead of anybody behind him. So David Lehman pulls into the pits, so that's going to cycle these guys through. It's going to put Paul Skip up as your leader. Dennis Diaz will be in 2nd, and Ronnie's going to assume the 3rd position. Now, Paul has yet to make his 2nd pit stop, so he's going to have to cycle through the pits. Everybody else has made their 2nd pit stop until you get back to Zach. James Foreman are the only 2 left on field with the addition of Paul Skip, and James Foreman's going for another lap. So these guys must be doing some serious fuel saving. I would expect Paul Skip to be in within the next lap here. He last pitted on lap 27. So that would make this an even pit stop here. This would be 27 laps into this fuel run. Let's stay here with Mr. Paul Skip and see what happens. Meanwhile, he's got Sean Crowley in front of him. And I'm sure he does not want to get caught up with this late in the race. Fortunately for Paul having to take a line there, I'm sure he didn't want to. But now he should easily be able to get by him. And we'll see here, Mr. Skip is going to come into the pits, or if he's going to stretch another lap. And he is going another lap. So Paul is able to get by Sean Crowley, and looks like Mr. Diaz is going to as well. So our 2 leaders... Oh no! Paul Skip gets in a little bit hot and has an issue. Or excuse me. No, we have Paul Boyle, but let's take a look and see what happens to Paul Boyle first. So Paul gets in and just gets in hot and locks up that rear end, but Paul Skip from the lead. After staying out that extra lap, I thought he would have pitted. Gets in just a little bit hot and loses it. Let's see if he's able to stay clear of everyone. No, he's in a bad spot. Nobody can see him, and he quickly gets off track. That is going to cost him dearly, as you see everybody going by. That cost him 3 positions. And that has moved Dennis into the lead, followed by Ronnie. David Lehman says, thank you very much. I'll take a top 3. And in GT3, it looks like everybody has cycled through. And that has sent Carl Handwerk back to the lead. Now, Carl last pitted on lap 37. And I'm seeing these guys are running 27 laps. So if my math is correct, 64 laps Carl can make it. Now they only have 15 minutes to go. So I think Carl should be good to go till the end. Now he is a clear 11 seconds ahead, so Carl can afford to back off a little bit and not lose any ground to these guys. So now Paul Skip finally makes his pit entrance. I'm going to guess he wishes it was 1 lap earlier. Now Ronnie Osmer is running in 2nd place, but he has had an event-filled evening. 24 off-track points already. In fact, he is 2nd place in that category. Not exactly where you want to be, but a 2nd place is in this case, Ronnie is actually your leader here in GTE tonight, due to the fact that Dennis is a celebrity one-off, catch me if you can, my position doesn't matter, race car driver for the evening. So our actual race leader tonight in GTE at the moment is Ronnie Osmer. He should be good on fuel. Shouldn't have any issues there. And he has got a 2.5 second lead over David Lehman. So I would imagine David Lehman is going to be doing whatever he can to get in front of Ronnie. Now, Terry Kroger, who's had a bad evening, down in 8th place. He is your current points leader over Patrick Ripley, who is in 5th place. So that's going to tighten that battle up a little bit. In fact, my math is correct. That's actually going to put Patrick Ripley into the lead. 3rd place is Tyler Langenberg, who I think is in 4th place. So that's actually going to, I mean, you're going to be, the top 3, if the positions hold like this, are all going to be within 1 point. David Lehman is going to jump up there, so you could actually have the top 4 guys, 5 guys, depending on how these things finish out, are going to still be within 1 or 2 points. It's going to move Ronnie Osmer up into that battle as well, depending on how they finish here tonight. So as we get ready to come to 10 minutes to go home here, well, 11 minutes to go in the round 6 of Endurance for Amateur Series. Carl Hanwerk, your GT3 leader, who has stretched that gap out to a 13-second lead. Carl is running very consistent lap times. He is a full second faster, 2 seconds faster than most of these guys, which just goes to show you, Carl took tires. He was the only one to take tires. And it is paying off in spades here this evening as Carl is cruising to a victory. Now, Carl's teammate, Jimmy Covert, also took tires. Now, he is also running quite a bit faster lap times than those guys in front of him. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to close that lead. He's caught right to the back of Sean Crowley as these two battle for 5th place here in GT3. See if Sean's able to hold him off, or if the new tires of Mr. Covert are able to come and see. You can see right there. Oh, as he just gets into him a little bit. Jimmy ran it a little bit wide. Or Sean ran it a little bit wide, excuse me. And we have Terry Kroger Jr. has had an incident. Let's see what happens to Terry and Brad both. Wonder if Brad gets around and Terry gets caught up in the mess. Terry, oh, comes from way back and locks it up. Oh, that might have been... Let's see what that looks like one more time. Terry was kind of far back on that. I mean, he comes in hot. You can see there's no way he's making that. And him and Brad kind of drive off into the sunset there. Hopefully Terry lets Brad see here. Nope. Terry is just back on it. Let's see here. Nick Brown's had an incident in turn 1 and just catches that rumble strip on the inside. Yep, then he catches it again, and around he goes, and he was able to keep it off the Armco barrier there, so nice driving by Mr. Nick Brown. Nick back there battling for 14th position. As we jump in here again with, looks like Jimmy Covert's able to finally make that pass on Sean Crowley. Jimmy jumps up into 5th position. Now he's going to try to track down Alex Cornfield. Fortunately, he has got 6 seconds to do, and he's running a half a second a lap faster, so it's going to be close. But they are nowhere near catching Carl Hanwerk this evening, who has pulled out another 2 seconds on our 2nd place driver of Andrew McMurray. Andrew's had a good race. Up 6 positions from his starting grid, so a nice race by Andrew. Really consistent laps. Just hasn't had the pace to catch Carl tonight. Let's see here if we got any good battles going on. Looks like Brad McCombs and Terry Kroger Jr. So Brad's able to get back by Terry. I don't know if Terry let him get back by after that unnecessary dive bomb. At least from the broadcaster's point of view, Terry looked to be a little bit too far back in that particular instance to try to make that pass. Now what has happened is these guys have let Aaron get right up on the back of them. So hopefully their little battle isn't going to end up costing them. Looks like we have Alex Cornfield has had an incident. A big incident for Alex here. Well, let's see what happens. So he gets in hot there and he catches the grass and around. Does he get collected by anybody? Nope. He's able to keep it going. But that's going to allow... Oh, Alex loses 4 positions. That really shakes up our GT3 field. Now we have Carl Handwerk, Aaron McMurray, Aaron Clayball, and Jimmy Covert up to 3rd position. Although I would imagine Jimmy's really looking to gain a couple more positions. Oh, and Brad McComb is off again. I wonder if... Oh, we didn't get to see much there. We had an incident with Paul Boyle. See, Paul Boyle just gets it wrong coming into that first turn. He's all squirrely, trying to save it, trying to save it, trying to save it. Now does he get clipped? Oh, narrowly avoids the incident. Let's see what happens to Brad. Brad is in a hot mess here. Oh, and he just gets tapped. I mean... I don't think tap's the right word. We're going to say punted. Brad got punted. Sorry, Brad. You didn't deserve that. And that looks to be by Aaron. Yep, that was Aaron Fulford got into the side of Brad. Pretty much puts an end to Brad's night. With 5 minutes remaining here in round 6. We have Dennis Diaz out in the lead, and David Lehman has caught and passed Ronnie Osmer. Now, I didn't see any incidents coming up. Oh, Ronnie had an off track. Let's see if we can see what happened to Ronnie Osmer. A big off track. Oh. Was running solid 2nd place. Had a big off track incident coming down from that first corner all the way down that hill. We've seen a lot of incidents there tonight. A lot of people having off tracks. I'll tell you 2 guys that have not had issues tonight. Carl Handwerk and Dennis Diaz have been almost mistake-free this evening. Incident-free, no, but they have managed to ride a great race. Unfortunately for this gentleman right here, Mr. Diaz, it is all for naught, as he is going to get an imaginary participation trophy. Is about all he can hope for this evening. But it was nice to see him out here racing. Again, showing everybody why he was the 3-time defending champion. So this gentleman right here, Mr. David Lehman, is your leader. And he has a 4-second gap over Ronnie Osmer, who was a comfortable 14 seconds ahead of Tyler Langenberg. Carl Handwerk has now a 22-second gap over Andrew McMurray, who is 4 seconds ahead of Aaron Clayball, who is 8 seconds ahead of Jimmy Covert. Looks like Sean Crowley and Alex Cornfield. Oh, Alex Cornfield, there we go. So Sean Crowley and Alex Cornfield are the battle here tonight for top 5 finish. Looks like that battle has separated themselves a little bit as some of the GTE guys get mixed up in there as they come up on the back end of Dave Ferrara. Oh, looks like Nick Terrell is going to take the outside there, the long way around, but Nick Terrell in that GM Goodwrench Corvette should have no problems, especially stretch them legs of that Corvette here on the front straight, pull away from these guys, get out of the way. Oh, he gets a little squirrely there. Imagine Dave's not looking forward to seeing that. Sean Crowley jumps up on the inside of Dave. And he's gonna try to put a little bit of a gap between him and Alex Cornfield, and he has managed to get a couple cars between them. Dave's just holding his line, letting these guys go around him. As you see Patrick Ripley coming on the back. Now Patrick's got to get around these guys as they're fighting each other for position. Patrick, though, this is not looking good. I'm not sure what's going on there with Dave. Trying to get out of the way. Sometimes trying to get out of the way only puts you in the way more, it seems like. So here we are, minute and a half left. Mr. Diaz makes his way through the infield section for what should be the penultimate lap to put the final touches on his dominant victory with an extra pit stop even. Carl was stretched his lead out to 24 seconds, running just blistering lap times compared to the rest of the field. He is putting a hurting on these boys tonight. Andrew McMurray in second place. As you can see what the difference tires makes, Andrew's struggling just to run second and a half slower. Ryan Tyler's had an incident late going again, coming into that first corner. It is tricky. Just gets in there a little bit too deep, and you can see the back end wash around. He gets out of the groove, and that's all you can do is hold on. Try not to collect anybody. As we coming around here, Mr. Diaz. Ronnie Osmer's entered the pit lanes. I wonder if something happened to Ronnie. He is out. Don't see any incidents with Ronnie. Ronnie's back on the track. But that was interesting. Gave up a second place finish. Dennis is making his way around here. Fortunately, these guys have all stretched themselves out pretty thin. Dennis coming around the final couple corners. Now he should be, I think this is going to be his final lap. Depends on... Oh, so there we go, as Dennis Diaz takes your victory. Followed by David Lehman. Tyler Langenberg coming up the hill here to take the checker flag for a nice top three position tonight. Here we see Carl Handwerk. And there you have Tyler Langenberg, who will actually be credited with a second place victory, or second place finish. So your winners in GTE is actually going to be David Lehman. Followed by Tyler Langenberg in GT3. We're going to stay with Carl here. He comes through that last infield section, and Andrew McMurray is going to come in second. There we have Carl just making his way up to the final. Oh, we have cars and carnage going on everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are trying to just finish. Sometimes timing and scoring gets a little confused, but there we have it. Dennis Diaz is your actual on-track winner, but the victory tonight's going to go to David Lehman, followed by Tyler Langenberg, and your top three is Patrick Ripley. In GT3, we have Carl Handwerk, Andrew McMurray, and Aaron Kleibauer, your top three. Let's see who we can pull into, if anybody's going to be in the waiting room tonight. Be nice to chat with these guys and find out how their race went. So here we have your overall GT3, Dennis Diaz, David Lehman, Tyler Langenberg, Patrick Ripley, Ronnie Osmer, Paul Skip, Terry Kroger Jr., Aaron Fulford, Ryan Tyler, Paul Boyle, Daniel Higley, Doug Eigerbright, Brad McCombs, Nick Terrell, Keith Roycroft, Carlos Ramos, and Atticus Middleton. In GT3, Carl Handwerk, Aaron McMurray, Aaron Kleibauer, Jimmy Covert, Sean Crowley, Eric Cornfield, Roger Shank, Nicholas Paletti, Ryan Tyler, James Foreman rounds out your top 10. Mark Thomas, Dave Ferrara, Nick Brown, Nam Mai Lee, and Chris Lawson are your top 15. Let's see who we've got. We've got your winner in, let's grab Mr. Carr or David Lehman, your winner tonight in the GTE class.
First.
Congratulations, David Lehman. What an amazing race in GTE.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't qualify as well as I usually do, but given that it's a 100-minute race, there's lots of time to make up. So yeah, no, I was very happy with the second place.
Well, second place, but actually first place. As you know, Dennis was just out there for show, so you were actually credited with the race victory tonight.
Oh, nice. Good for me. That's good.
So even better.
Even better. Yeah, it was nice to have Dennis come out. He's good fun out there. He's damn fast though. Hard to keep up to.
Yes, he is very quick. So tonight we saw a lot of incidents coming into turn one. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys we saw. How was it? Just the track in general, or was it pretty slick? How were the conditions out there that was causing so many issues?
Yeah, it was a combination of a bunch of things. Turn one, even in cool track conditions, is tough because it's downhill, so you don't have as much braking force as what you think before the tires lock up. And with a hot track, it's real easy to be too impatient and get on the brakes a little too late, and real easy to lock up the fronts or the rears. And once that happens, you're along for the ride. So it's real important to get on the brakes early there and get that nose tucked in on the first part of the apex, so you can get a good long run out the back straight, or that second straight.
Yep, the little short shoot in the back there. Now, we saw only a handful of guys take tires tonight. Was your strategy going in the whole time? No tires, fuel only. We're going to roll this to the very end?
Yes, sir. I'm in some regards, I'm not the quickest guy out there, but I'm pretty consistent. I don't make a ton of mistakes, and I'm pretty light on my tires. So most times I'm going to choose to not take tires, even one or two, or certainly not four. It just takes up too much time in the pits. 100 minutes in most circumstances, if you're not too hard on your tires, you should probably be able to get around without taking tires. But I guess it could be different for different cars as well. I suspect the BMW is a little bigger and heavier and probably is a little harder on tires. Not sure.
Great. So next week we're off to Red Bull Ring. Are you looking forward to that? Is that a track you enjoy, or some guys have tracks they don't like? How's your feeling on that?
It's a track I love. I mean, as you probably well know, iRacing just launched that a couple seasons ago. So it's a real fun, flowy track. I've done a few races at it, so I know it pretty well. And yeah, no, it should be fun. It'll be interesting with different classes. That was the one thing that I noticed a big difference with tonight. For some reason, there seemed to be less of a gap in speed between the GT3s and GTEs, and it was really tricky to get past them in some cases. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates over at the Red Bull Ring.
Great. Well, congratulations on your unknown victory tonight. And is there anybody you'd like to thank, David, before I let you go?
I'd like to thank Mark and all the rest of the admins for putting on such a great league. It's tons of fun. They do a great job.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming, and good luck next week, and we hope to see you in the broadcast booth again next week, David.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
And now we get our winner of the GT3 class tonight, Mr. Carl Handwerk. Congratulations, Carl.
Thanks, buddy.
Carl, you and Jimmy, your teammate, were the only two to take tires tonight.
Well, I'll take it.
Was that
me,
your...
me and him were, yeah, me and him were talking about halfway through the first stint, and knowing how hot the track was and knowing how this track just loves to munch on tires, we figured it was just going to be so much better taking tires and being able to keep that top pace up there. That kind of made the decision easier. So we decided to both take tires on that first stop to kind of have those fresh tires for the entire rest of the race instead of trying to run that first one out all the way until half a tank left. So it definitely paid off in the end. I mean, I was able to keep it in the 33s pretty much the entire race.
You were almost 2.5 seconds a lap faster at the end.
Yeah, and that's exactly where it pays off. I mean, it's in the beginning, like, as soon as we come back out with those fresh tires, I think it was maybe a half a second faster. But, I figured the time that I'm going to make up in that second stint with nobody else taking tires, I'm going to have a big enough lead that even if they take tires, they're not going to be able to catch me with a half a tank.
No, I don't think there was anybody that had anything for you. We did see a lot of issues, especially in turn one, going into that downhill section. Were you having issues with that as well, or was that just a lot of guys pushing too hard to try to make up some time there?
I think it was honestly the line that they were taking. Their line may have been slightly faster than mine, but it seemed like a lot of guys were kind of driving in really deep, then turning down in there and trying to get a good run off the, I guess, kind of the top of the hill, if you want to consider it there.
Yep.
But I was actually hugging the inside, getting up on top of the curbing there and using that to kind of straighten out the corner. And for me, that was, for some guys, it was helping me catch up to them, and other guys at the worst, I was staying with them. So with that, that was helping me turn around the corner, and it was keeping it a lot straighter. Everybody that was going in there, I think when they got on the gas, they got on it too hard because they were already so slow, and it snapped around on them.
Yeah, we had a lot of issues. Now, next week, we go to Red Bull Ring. That's a little bit similar track, a lot of flowing curves, but also a lot of really hard braking zones. How does that play into Carl's style for next week?
My style, I'm so at Red Bull Ring. I like this Ferrari. It's usually pretty dominant at most tracks. Not so sure it's dominant at the Red Bull Ring though. I think that may require a car change because this car, at least for me, it has really good pace, and it's really good turning on tight turns. There's not really that many tight turns other than, was it turn 2 at Red Bull Ring. So the rest of the track is flowy, so you can have a car that is a little bit maybe looser but better at the high speed corners. So something like the Porsche may be better, or even the BMW may show up better than the Ferrari.
Well, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Congratulations. Is there anybody you want to thank and give a shout out to this evening that helped get you into Victory Circle?
Yeah, just shout out to the team over at Core Racing League. Shout out to my teammates Jimmy Covert and Mark Thomas. A couple other guys in here from the Core Racing League too. So I think a lot of them had a pretty good showing too. Good job, guys. Shout out to Barry and my dad Rich out there. I know they're both watching. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Thanks to Pony Express for the post up, or the league up here, and Joker Graphics for the paint schemes.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Carl, and we look forward to hopefully speaking to you again next week.
Sounds like a plan, buddy.
Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another round of exciting racing here at Pony Express Sim Racing. Again, we will be back here Monday. In the meantime, Friday night, you have Extreme Sim TV. Those guys are going to have NASCAR for amateurs. And I want to give a big shout out again to our winners, David Lehman and Carl Handwerk, as we sign off for the evening. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.